This is the Future Talk, Rethinking SDG Reporting, How AI Revolutionizes Local Sustainability. Please welcome your host from the Center for Science and Environment, Sunita Narain.
Hello, everybody. So happy to be here with you. It's an unusual session, and I'm very excited to be moderating it because, in a sense, what this does is to bring the entire conversation of the Hamburg Sustainability Forum down to where it really matters. It matters at the city level. It matters to see how we can use new tools to bring accountability, measurement, and that allows us to know how far in the journey we are. So it's really about tracking our progress, using AI to do so, using the best tool to do so, and in that, there is the whole conversation about how and what will be the use of artificial intelligence in the world that we are today building together. And that's the big point and the big point of conversation. We have a Mentimeter out, and it has a fairly simple question, which is the single biggest benefit, the roadblock to employ sustainable AI. And we haven't had too many responses yet, and so I would encourage many of you to please go out there and do post what you think, because that will help us to also open out the conversation, which I will try and do with the panel discussion as I hear from you on the roadblocks. Let me begin with a very interesting conversation that we will start with Jacquiline Msambila. Jacquiline is the youth ambassador, but she works at the Africa Digital Transformation Network. And she is part of those voices that are coming from diverse parts of the world, and particularly our part of the world, to ask questions about why AI, how AI, and for whom AI. And I think that's a fundamental question that we need to ask as we shape this new animal into our futures. So let me ask Jacquiline, please come up and give us your views on this. We really look forward to hearing from you.
Okay, just read it here.
Yeah, all right, you have the height. This was designed for Indian women.
Oh.
Only Indian women here.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jacquiline, as I was introduced. While you are filling in the Mentimeter, I will really like to read your responses so I can incorporate it in my prepared speech. But a lot of people talk about artificial intelligence. They focus on data, algorithm, governance, but I would like to add another word: trust. People won't use the solution unless they trust that it benefits them equity-wise, it's fairly, it's responsible. So I would like to add trust as another factor which is very important in AI governance. Because no matter how powerful artificial intelligence becomes, it will only serve society if people trust that it is being used fairly, responsibly, and for public good. Today around the world, cities face many challenges, but the main common challenge is climate change. AI has the potential to be one of those tools that can help solve this particular challenge that most cities are facing. It can help government process large amount of data for information. It can identify trends. It can predict risks and monitor progress to improve decision-making. However, technology alone does not create progress. That's where people are involved. The critical question is not whether government should use AI, but the critical question is how they use it. From an ethical perspective, because I'm an ethicist, I did philosophy and ethics. The question that was put, the opportunities or gaps in AI, all reflect in this perspective, because I believe there are 4 principles that should be guided, that should be used as a guidance towards a responsible deployment of artificial intelligence by governments. First is human-centered. I know it's a term that is been thrown around a lot. Human-centered AI. What is it really, human-centered? What does it mean to be human-centered design? It means simply that it should serve the needs of the people. It should be designed to serve the needs of the people and not to replace human beings, actually. So these decisions that are being made by AI reflect people's rights, so they should definitely be governed in order to make sure that some rights are not violated. So we could not develop AI at the expense of people's rights. So human-centered design is the first principle. The second principle, I would go with transparency and accountability. I cannot stress this enough, because citizens have a right to understand how public decisions are made. The third principle, I would say equity and inclusion, because AI is only good as the data it learns from. This means that all groups, marginalized groups as well, people with disability, their data has to be embedded in the system at the designing phase, so that they could develop solutions tailored specifically for all groups. The fourth principle, collaboration and shared learning. One of the most exciting aspects of this Hamburg-Ethekwini partnership that we're going to learn so much about is the commitment to co-creation. Knowledge sharing, responsible innovation, cities learning from each other. As a young African woman working at an intersection of ethics, governance, and digital inclusion, I see enormous potential of AI when collaboration is involved. The SDGs are not only about measuring progress, they're about improving lives. That's why we're here. If AI help us better understand communities, responds to their needs, and create more inclusive and sustainable cities, then AI becomes more than a technology. It becomes a tool for human development. Thank you very much. So I keep saying?
Yeah, please, because I think I'm going to ask everyone to come on stage. We will fit in, as we do in good Indian style. So, Katharina, Fegebank, can I ask you to come up? And I will also ask Anacláudia to join us, and Nevana to come up as well. So Katharina is from the Ministry of Environment, Climate, Energy and Agriculture. And she's also the second mayor of this beautiful city that we are here. So thank you very much for hosting us.
You're welcome.
It is, and giving us such amazing weather today. So, and what we are going to hear today and discuss today, and I will ask Katharina to begin, is how then AI can indeed be used with the principles that you have talked about, Jacquiline, to really to see how SDGs and everything that we believe in sustainability in cities, the progress can be measured, monitored, can be publicly used, and as you said, more and more, not just to track progress, but to own it. And that really is what the City of Hamburg has done. And we are going to see a very short presentation on this 3 slides. And then I will ask Katharina to talk about this briefly, if you need to, but I think the slides will explain it. So I will then jump into the panel discussion. So if you can see the slides on how this tool has been developed. It's an analysis tool for sustainability. It's really about the mining the data that we have. There's huge data that exists which policymakers grapple with. So how do you mine it? How do you analyze it? And how do you use it to be able to monitor on the indicators that you have set where do you stand? And that is really the tool that has been developed. And if I could have the next slide, please. And this is really about the different SDGs, how they come through in the different documents of the different ministries in city government, and being able to bring that picture together. I mean, AI is, as we say, the best assistant that any manager could ask for. The question is really, what does the manager want to do with it? And I think that's what we will discuss further. But it is an incredible tool to be able to do that. Next slide, please. And then, of course, it has a profile, and it then adds up to the targets that have been set to be able to understand how far is the city from the target that has been set as yet. And do I have another slide? Yes, of course. And it's really about asking the questions and then answering it and using it as a policymaker's tool. And I hope, and we will discuss that as well, how would you make this public and how do you see this being able to be used as you make it public to be able to track progress in it. So if I may now start the panel discussion and ask, I want to start with you, Anacláudia Rossbach. She's the executive director at UN Habitat Cities Network. And the reason I want to come to you before I come to Hamburg City is to really understand, when you see something like this, in the position you're in, how do you see this being used? And how do you see this being applied in other cities of the world?
Sure. So to start with, and thank you, Mayor, for receiving us here today in this beautiful city. But I was just looking at the slide, and when SDG-relevant popped, I was trying to read, but I was not able because the presentation was not prepared for us to understand the content, but the process and the format. But I was literally curious. I was making efforts to read. So what is it that Hamburg is doing for SDG-11, right? In urban mobility, public spaces, basic services, waste, housing, right? And this is what we need to know, actually. As you know, UN Habitat has the mandate, related to sustainable urbanization. So we are the UN entity looking at urbanization. So cities has been at the core of our mandate, and we have different streams of work supporting cities. Cities that are on the front line of climate, as Jacquiline said, cities that are actually on the front line of the SDGs, because at the end of the day, the SDGs, they will not happen in an abstract manner. Yeah. So if you talk about education, you need to build schools somewhere and you put professors somewhere, right? Obviously, the housing and the informal settlements, you have to improve them in some ground and everything. And cities have the power to consolidate everything, to plan ahead and make sure that people live, connected to their jobs or to possibilities of jobs, of economic activities, but also to services. So to be very practical, what we do today, now, in a couple of weeks, we are going to monitor SDG-11 and see what happened. So having this type of information is very, very important. We are issuing a report on that. We are also co-chairing a UN-wide initiative. It's called the Local 2030. So we co-chair at the moment with UNECE, which is the Economic Commission for Europe at the UN. We are co-chairing this initiative. It brings 15 UN entities. And it's very interesting because it's the only mechanism within the UN that is grounded locally. And we have the job of promoting what we call the localization of the SDGs. So if cities, they can provide us this information, then we can also act and react and see how the UN system should be supportive of this process of localizing the SDGs.
Wonderful. And Madam Deputy Mayor, why did you come up with this? And how do you see it helping you? Because at the end of the day, what we don't want is another fancy AI tool which gives us another fancy report, which is so big and bulky that it sits on your shelf. You are someone who wants to bring change on the ground. So how does this tool help you?
Thank you very much for having me on this panel. And once again, a very warm welcome to all of you. Hamburg is showing itself from the best sunny side. It's, thank God, not as hot as it was over the weekend. So we all have a fresh mind being here today and tomorrow. To answer the question, let me just pick up on what you just said. Sustainability is nothing that happens somewhere outside in the space and is like an abstract word, but we have to bring it back to the municipalities. We have to bring it back to the cities where change is being made. And this is exactly why we were asking ourselves in the need of developing a sustainability strategy. Mm-hmm. We put it in our coalition treaty and we said we have to ask all the different ministries. We have like 11 ministries and we have 7 district authorities to give us all the information they have on all 17 sustainability development goals. And so we thought that is very complicated, because there were 100,000 documents, over 100,000 documents. And so we came up with this idea of making life a little easier by using AI. And so we developed our tool, and as you rightly said, it is a tool that has to serve the community, that has to serve the city, the ministries, actually to work with it and to get like clear and transparent results out of it. We called it Hans, which is his German male first name and stands for Hamburg Analysis Tool for Sustainability. So you can all keep it in mind.
I hadn't figured that
can all
out.
Keep it in mind.
Purpose.
And we identified, or this tool really identified all relevant documents for our sustainability strategy. And on this basis, Hans has generated like over 250 SDG and target overviews and has thus made complex coordination redundant. So the first idea on it was, first of all, to make it more concrete, really to put like an abstract idea into down-to-earth action, which also is one of the major goals of the Hamburg Sustainability Conference, which is accompanied here in Hamburg by the Hamburg Sustainability Week, inviting civil society, all citizens, business, corporations, and science to participate and to be part of it. So to make it more concrete on the one hand, to reduce complexity, to make reporting faster, more transparent, and very big thing in Germany, less bureaucratic. So whoever you talk to, they say, we could really kickstart our idea, we could be really innovative, but everything is very bureaucratic. So we have to make reports on everything. and coming out of that observation, we transformed our idea into this AI tool, and I think it can really be a game changer for our sustainability strategy.
Anacláudia, I'm aware of the fact that you have a pressing engagement and you have to leave. So before I let you go, and I will then continue the conversation with the other panelists, I really want to ask you, so you've heard about this tool, you've got the cities network. How do you see this tool being used, this tool and many tools like this, but particularly this tool for monitoring, for measuring, for monitoring, for analysis, for tracking progress, and for making it available to citizens? How do you see it being used in cities and other parts of the world?
Sure. First, I was very glad when I saw our team on the picture. So thank you for the opportunity for contributing to the design and development of this tool, because in doing that, we learn. And it's very practical for us because exactly here in Hamburg, We have a partnership with the Hafen University, but also with our UN agencies. And we are developing a series of tools. Actually, we developed a series of tools to do, for example, measurement of informal settlements, right? We are living in a global housing crisis. I mentioned SDG-11, so slums, informal settlements is a critical challenge that we have in the planet. There we have developed this tool where we are mapping informal settlements in Southern Africa, in Ethekwini, in Namibia, but also in Central America. And it's a combination of using satellite images and also AI. We also used AI to identify the urban components of the country's NDCs, the National Determined Contributions. And good news, 80% of them have an urban perspective, and half of them housing and informal settlements. So AI, we see AI as a critical mechanism for us to really make sure that we implement our mandate, addressing the global housing crisis, the localization of the SDGs, and we support cities.
But before you leave, and I'm sort of aware of you needing to leave, so I want to catch you with as much as I can. So give us an idea, because we have seen such tools in the past, and you have helped to co-create this one. What do you see as being the one thing that will need to be done between now and the future to make sure this tool really gets used to be credible, to be measurable, and to be able to give us the confidence in the world that, yes, cities are beginning to move, because that's what we need to see happen. There is, the housing crisis, and you and I come from a part of the world where I can see it happen in front of my eyes, but it's very clear that we need to have answers to be able to provide dignity, housing, affordability, and all that at a time of climate risk. So how do you see this tool in your experience of working with so many cities in the world? AI, this tool, really being able to push the envelope towards the action that we need.
Well, first of all, we need political leaders that are behind the tools.
Wonderful. We need more of you, madam.
Exactly.
I do my very best.
And then the communities that will feed with the information that we need, because there's a lot that you can catch, from the more kind of physical side of things, let's say so, but you need the human perspective, right? And we have a lot of data, and we spoke about informal settlements, but about related to women, related to groups in the cities that have been invisible, or movements that we haven't been able to capture. So we need to add to that. So the AI alone as an instrument will not be enough. What we need is to max out the possibility that artificial intelligence and digital tools and so on can offer us, but we still need the insights and the perspective of those who are not there, who are not part of the data, right? And the political leadership from the society, but also the mayors, to make sure that the agenda is pushed, that this information, is addressed with concrete action, because at the end of the day, we have to respond. And for the SDGs, we have 4 years.
Absolutely.
So we have to be fast.
Thank you so much. Thank you for that intervention.
Thank you. See you.
Thank you. Nevana, let me come to you, because all this really comes down to cities in our world. And you are in a very interesting city, Ethekwini. The question really for me, and for listening to all this, when you think back of your city, how will you use this tool? What will be the way in which you see it'll help you to make better decisions, and how will you implement it? So please, and give us a sense of your city as well.
Okay, so maybe let me start with some context of
Yes.
the city. So Ethekwini Municipality is actually previously known as the City of Durban in South Africa. We're on the East Coast, so we have the warm Indian Ocean running on our coastline. Fantastic city to visit if
I
you're
have
ever
been.
looking for somewhere to come
It's
on holiday.
beautiful.
But in terms of the city, we have 4.2 million residents in the city and about 1.2 million households that we know of. And I'll come back to that because that's how we're also hoping to use AI. Our main industries are around agriculture, tourism, manufacturing as well. But essentially, our city has been involved in work around data, innovation, AI, etc., for quite a number of years. Around 2022, we also launched what we call a Strat Hub, and that was launched by a very good colleague, Dr. Sandile Mbata, who is now our Chief Data Officer in the country. But essentially, what that tool did is it brought together several data sets from the city. It was already analyzed as dashboards, and it's presented on that platform. It's open access, so even community members can go and look at it. The data is available for downloading, additional research, etc. But in the process of doing that, it catapulted into other people in the city becoming interested in their data. They wanted to know, how do we use our data? How can we present it such that it's used by others? So we actually started off that process quite a while ago. And we've now produced 2 voluntary local reviews, but both of them were done manually. So by going to colleagues, asking them for information about the SDGs and the progress on their SDGs, looking at documents, and I'm pretty sure, although we've produced the 2 SDGs, there's still, the 2 voluntary local reviews, there's still a lot of information that we've missed because we just haven't had access to it. So the way we see this tool working is a multiplier effect, effectively. Number one is it gives us the ability to bring together a lot more data and use AI to analyze that data, both qualitative and quantitative, so that it gives us a more accurate picture of where we stand with the SDG progress. Secondly, and you'd all know this from ChatGPT, Microsoft 365 and Copilot and all of that, when you use AI tools, it often brings up things that you didn't think about. Which is one good aspect of using AI, because then it broadens your understanding. It makes you think a little bit further than you would ordinarily have. So that's the second thing. But over and above that, I think when we use this tool and produce the reports, it gives us a more accurate indication of where we are in terms of the progress on meeting the SDGs. And that identifies gaps that we need to work on. So what do we need to do more of? In addition to that, we've also realized that with using AI tools, it helps identify studies and research that was previously done. So we don't all have to go back to the drawing board and repeat what was done previously.
Fascinating.
It benchmarks, so it allows you to use that in the work that you're doing. And so it becomes more efficient. I mean, the voluntary local reviews that have taken me 6 months, I'm anticipating that once we implement the tool, would ordinarily probably take a week, 2 weeks after you've gone through the information, though. So it makes it more efficient as well.
Yeah. Fascinating. Thank you for sharing that. And, the way you've explained it, you've really brought your city here into Hamburg. So thank you very much for that. Really nice. Thank you. Katharina, to you, and then I will come to Jacquiline as well. When you, as a city deputy mayor, you look at your city and you look at the SDG targets, and you have this tool now that brings you all the information, allows you to understand where the city stands. What do you want to do now from it? I mean, you're the manager on top of that information. Help us to see your next steps as you move ahead, and how this tool will either be used today or how you will develop it further. Because at the end of the day, the best thing with this is it doesn't have to stop, but it's about what you want out of it. And that's really what Jacquiline told us, is you need to be on top of it, not let the tool decide what you need to do. So please.
That's exactly what our approach is. We want to serve the community, the city, and the people. That's why we hope that the tool will be significantly more automated, more interactive, more user-friendly, so like a growing tool over the coming years. And I have to totally agree to what you just said, because this is exactly what we're expecting, to become faster, to become more efficient, to become less bureaucratic, and then really have time to take the results as an impact on really how to work on the SDGs, and not reporting on them and looking for different documents where we have like different digital systems to be worked on. Bring it all together and have a clear and very transparent overview on where we stand, to see where our gaps are, where we have to develop. And what I hope is, not only with today and sharing the open source code with you and your city, to extend this tool and to let other cities and communities participate, because we know that sustainability is a cross-cutting issue, definitely. And we have to come beyond the silos, which also is an idea of this conference and of our Hamburg Sustainability Week, to look beyond your own boundaries and bring things together. And this is something definitely we see in that tool, helping us to understand what's been done already and where we have to reach out even more to really fulfill our sustainability development targets in a city environment. And by sharing and spreading and communicating with other cities, communities all over the world, this is hopefully just a start. And I could happily be imagined to find cooperations with other continents, with other countries or even cities, and not only staying in the field of sustainability, but taking a look at the neighboring topics. We were talking about how to tackle climate change. This morning we were being asked how to come to terms with climate adaptation. This is a major concern to many, many countries worldwide at the moment. Energy transition, housing issues we just tackled. So I think we have built a solid foundation, and out of this foundation we can reach very high and very far to other sectors and fields.
Wonderful, very interesting. Before I come to you, I want the Mentimeter out, because you actually said that put out more questions, because it'll help you to also respond and to give us some opinion. So can we have the results of the Mentimeter out? Is it, so those are the results? Okay. So essentially talking about handling different data from one go, sorting data, comparability, reporting comparable, efficiency. There's a sort of a list. Is there anything that jumps out to you, Jacquiline, that you want to speak about? And really, why I'm asking you is that you're kind of like the conscience keeper of this tool, helping us to make sure that this tool, and many such tools like this, that AI is used for public good, that AI is used for sustainability, that AI is used to be able to get cities to do much more and to be accountable to their own people. That's what we heard from you. So how do you see some of these issues that are coming out, or anything that you want to add to this conversation to say what really needs to be done in your view?
I was reading and I realized that most of the things that were highlighted were mostly spoken about efficiency, workload, and etc. But what really popped was improving decision making, because knowing what already exists, what type of needs that the people have, can help you to decide and to design a solution that actually works for them. So it can improve decision making in such manner. And I would like to highlight or congratulate Madame here for stepping up as a city, because while I was working at the East Africa Community Headquarters in Arusha, I'm Tanzanian by the way, I realized how much a political will can be a barrier or towards achieving a certain agenda. We were working on a regional digital transformation strategy for the East African countries, all 8 countries, DRC, South Sudan, Somalia. But some partner states were not willing to go in this same journey. So as a country, there has to be a political will themselves that we are heading towards a digital transformation. We are heading towards giving people services in digital manners. So I think political will play a really good part. That's why I'd like to congratulate the city of Hamburg to step up and take their matters in their own hands. And I also like to highlight, I think there is a relationship between the city of Hamburg and Dar es Salaam.
Exactly.
Yeah, I've seen several.
Our sister city.
Yes.
I was there a few years ago and also in Arusha.
Yeah. So I would like to highlight that. That's a very good collaboration. So for the power of scaling up, as you said, this is only the first relationship, Ethekwini and Hamburg. But if this works, we could escalate. And yeah, so the power of collaboration, it works.
For me, this is so powerful for the reason that both will inform. Because this tool will learn so much from Ethekwini. Will learn from the cities of the South because, the challenges that we have are different, but also similar. And the complexity that we have is also different, but similar. I mean, you're the head of a city and you know how difficult it is to get decisions that we know need to be taken. And that's really my last question to the three of you before we end is, how will you make this public? And how do you see a tool like this building the public acceptability for the change we need? Because this is really where the biggest barrier comes, that, something that a city manager wants to do, and then you end up with saying, but yes, I want the cars off the road and I want more bicycle tracks, or I want more green areas, or I want to do heat pumps, or whatever else is my list of things that I must do. And there is too much, people don't want it. They see it as a cost. They see it as inconvenience. And how does a tool like this help us to build that narrative, the public acceptability for the change that we must see in our city? So how would you make this public and what can happen? Deputy Mayor, please.
I think acceptability by the people is a key issue. And you just said that some of the politicians, and I know who you're talking about because we all have them on all levels, are sometimes afraid of kind of delegating decisions back to the people. And I think when it comes to AI on the one hand, and you said trust is very decisive, really, to make it successful. Whatever you have, like a tool like this or any other means covering AI issues, it is very important that people have trust in what is happening. So there is an idea of kind of giving back the power of using it to the people in the districts, in the municipalities, in the entire city. So make it more open and make it more interactive, the entire tool. At the moment, we're using it for kind of internal purposes by gathering all information from our ministries in order to set up our strategy. But there is also a moment where we open up to the public and invite them to create and shape their own future. So there is a kind of empowerment of the people, especially in those times, very troubled times where many people are afraid of what is happening now and in the future. So many crises, wars, conflicts. So people feel kind of lost, even in a very rich city, as I consider Hamburg to be a city with a very stable government. There are many conversations I have every day with people who are afraid of not seeing a prosperous path towards the future. And having tools like that are giving the power, kind of empowerment back to the people. And this is the way I see, using it for our purposes, making things more transparent, easier, more efficient, getting our job done as politicians, really, to present a strategy. But there is much more to it by activating and empowering people to be part of this change we want to see.
Nevana, do you see in this tool, I mean, this is fascinating because to me, this is really where AI doesn't become the devil that we are all scared of, but the companion that we need in our world to actually help us to build a worldview and trust amongst people for the change that needs to come. And
your words are much nicer than mine. So your words, I was struggling a bit.
That's okay. I mean, we're saying the same things. But how do you see it in your environment? I mean, how do you see a tool like this? And I'm talking about public now.
So we've had some exposure in terms of public or members of the community accessing our data. Mm-hmm. In the process of doing that, you realize that you've got to ensure that the data that you publish is accurate.
Absolutely.
And that it matches what is actually the sentiment on the ground and what is happening on the ground. It's useless saying that everything is fine, there's no potholes in the city, yet if I drive down a road, I've got 10 potholes that I come across. Mm-hmm. And that creates the issue around trust.
Brilliant.
So it's making sure that the data is accurate before we publish it. Secondly, I think it's beneficial, and I'm glad our youth ambassador spoke about it earlier, getting communities involved and getting youth involved. As cities, we recognize the fact that we do not have all of the data sets that we require to report on the SDGs. And one of the things we're trying to do at the moment is bring community service or civil society organizations, community-based organizations on board to share their data sets with us. So we can supplement the data that we have on the SDGs, and you then get a more comprehensive idea of what is happening in the city. And it builds that trust because now we're working hand in hand to try and ensure we've got this holistic picture. So that was the second thing. But also, whilst we're talking about trust, I think it's very important that we concentrate on governance because we're dealing with community data. So it's a matter of how are we going to be making sure that we don't misuse that data, that it follows proper processes, nothing that shouldn't be published is published, all of those sorts of things. So it's part of what we've got in our plan of how we need to deal with this and some of the steps we need to take before it actually becomes public. When it's for internal use, it's a different story. But before we get to that point of making it available to the public, that's what we need to do. And then lastly, I think it also helps to show community members the benefits of the tool.
Exactly.
Yeah. So we can show them this is what was done, print out or do like case studies, videos, media coverage, etc., where you show how the tool's been used, what it's helped us identify as gaps, what we've then done to plug those gaps, etc., and then improve our implementation of the SDGs.
Wonderful. I think that really sort of wraps up what we are talking about. But before I conclude, I want to take that very interesting moment where you will hand over the source code to Nevana. And
should we go here?
If you can come out here, because I think we can get some.
Can I ask our colleague, so the person that's actually going to be doing the AI work from Ethekwini is with me. And if I ask him to join us.
Absolutely. No, I should have called you up. I didn't know you were here.
Hi.
Thank you.
Hi.
Thank you.
Okay. We do it like this. This is the tool. Yeah. I don't want to. I don't want to do some Apple promotion here, so I put it this way.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So as I conclude, I just want to say this is really what makes the Sustainability Forum work. Because at the end of the day, we know that we have a broken world order. We know that we have 1,000,001 problems. We know that we are not anywhere close to meeting the climate targets that we have set ourselves. But we do know that there is a huge energy coming from the ground, from communities, from cities, who are translating all the SDGs down to what they want. They want livability. They want dignity of life. They want clean water. They want clean air. They want sustainability to be part of their cities. We, in our world, and I come from very much your world, and I know we can see it in Hamburg in practice, that is not something that people are fighting against. Mm-hmm. What we really need is the ability to be able to implement, but then to measure, to monitor, and then to amplify. And that's what we've talked about. This tool being one tool that helps a city to, one, cut down on the inefficiencies, to be able to not waste time on doing reports. Have a report quick so that you can use the report to actually get things done, and then to be able to track progress on it. And I think that's what makes this conversation so uplifting, so inspirational, and tells us that there is so much more that we will and can do together. I have someone who's got a hand up. Am I allowed to let one question come up? Yeah, go ahead, but you will have to keep it really short because I can see that meter here saying time is up.
Thank you very much. I'm Judith. I come from Zimbabwe. So I come from the global south where there's a huge divide between the urban and the rural.
Yes.
So when we talk about the tool, and the difference, the inequalities between the urban and the rural in terms of access, in terms of capacities, access to infrastructure, access to or literacy, digital literacy, there's that divide. So how does the tool become inclusive, or is it just a tool for the urban areas? Thank you very much.
So at the moment, this is, no one tool solves all problems. This is a tool designed to track SDG implementation in urban areas, in cities. But I'm sure that this tool can also be used to track SDG implementation across other geographies. I also come from a part of the world where we have similar inequalities, a similar divide. But I think the one good thing that we are seeing in our world is that the digital divide is getting more and more less. So I think we will leave the conversation here, and maybe outside the room you can discuss this further. But I think it just tells me, Madam Mayor, that what you have started here is perhaps something that will have huge implications, and we can grow this enormously, not just for urban areas, but also for countries to be able to track their SDG progress and to get the change on the ground that we can all see happen and believe in. So thank you very much, everyone. Happy that you were all part of this. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Wonderful.